Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today. It's really good to have you all here. I'll kick things off by welcoming everyone that we've got here, and I'm sure some people will be flooding in while that's happening as we're right on 12 o'clock. So I'm Nick Stillwell. I'm the lead consulting surveyor on the Modernising Landonline program. I'm working to represent surveyors and capture feedback from surveyors and feed it to the teams working on the development. And we've also got Jeremy Gutzel. He's a licensed cadastral surveyor, and you may recognise him from previous presentations, such as webinars 1, 2, and 3. And we've also got Lyndon Telfer, who is the product manager for the survey part of the new Landonline application. And I'm sure many of you know Lyndon from previous interactions too. Right, we've still got people flooding in, so I'll just hold off jumping into the content for another 30 seconds or so. Just for the people who have just joined, I'll just kick things off very shortly. We've still got a number of people bouncing into the presentation. Awesome. It seems to have slowed down now. So we'll kick things off. So for those who have just joined, I've already introduced everyone, so hopefully you can cope without me running through that again. And here goes. So I guess as context setting for everyone, just to help you understand what things are going to look like. And I guess the reason for this Q&A session is to set the scene for what Landonline's legacy Landonline will look like on the 6th of November. So on the 6th of November, basically all the capture functionality will be turned off in legacy Landonline, which will mean the only place to do capture will be in the new Landonline. So here's a screenshot showing you what it would look like inside a survey. If you opened one up, you'll see that the enabled users and capture dataset buttons are grayed out, and all these survey info, import, pre-val, supporting docs, schedule memorandum, TA certification, and survey report have all been turned off. So the only tabs that you'll have available to you on the 6th of November are the plan generation tab and the submit tab. And all the rest of the survey capture part of the process will be done in legacy, in the new Landonline. So just to kind of preempt a few questions, that this question seems to be coming up quite a lot. So we've got this slide together, and maybe you want to take a screenshot of it and save it if you're going to struggle to remember it. But it's showing you where you can do which things in which applications. So obviously we've got capture here inside the new Landonline, requests functionality in new Landonline, and notices in new Landonline. And what that's saying is those features are fully replaced in the new system, so you can use them in the new Landonline. My messages will be sitting within the notices section of new Landonline, so that's a little bit of a change. And then the other one that's been coming up quite a lot is where can I get my XML data from? How do I get that out of the new system? And the answer is that's coming sort of sometime next year. And so for now, you'll still get your XMLs from the legacy search application, the way you have done since Landonline was kind of implemented. And as per that previous screenshot, you'll see sign and submit and plan generation is still happening inside the legacy application. So hopefully that provides useful context to where you're going to do what. And I guess there's a chance that prompts some questions of when those things coming. So that's a good segue over to Lyndon to have a bit of a talk about the roadmap for the survey applications.
Perfect, thanks, Nick. Yeah, as Nick said, there's been a lot of questions about when these things are coming, and I'm going to use this roadmap which shows the survey work we need to complete before we can turn off legacy Landonline completely for all of our survey customers. Obviously, the first milestone, which we're all here talking about today, is turning off legacy capture on the 6th of November. Thanks, Nick. He's highlighting that. That's the first yellow star on the left-hand side of the roadmap there. But the next milestone I want to talk about is sign and submit. We have started work on replacing the sign and submit functionality, and assuming we're anticipating and having that sort of complete around sort of April 2024, and we'd then test that with the survey working group. And if that all goes well, we'd look to remove the sign and submit functionality from legacy Landonline, probably around the middle of 2024. So it's sort of a part of a cycle. We'll develop new functionality, we'll test it. Once it's all working well, we'll then remove that from the legacy system. The next thing I just want to talk about quickly there is the digital visualization prototype. Our milestone is based around releasing that prototype and consulting on it. And just if you're not aware, digital visualization will allow you to view digital data without the time-consuming task of generating survey and title plans. We anticipate having that prototype available to all surveyors around April 2024. And around this time, we'll also kick off, or the Surveyor General will kick off a formal consultation, not just with the survey profession, but with legal professions and others who use the title plan and record of survey to see how that new digital visualization functionality works for them. Look, we know implementing changes such as this is going to take time, and because of that, we've committed to replacing plan generation functionality in the new Landonline, so it will be accessed by the side ribbon exactly the same way as you do all the other functions in the capture application. So I've just lost my train of thought here. So when we do that plan generation work, we hope to complete it around sort of late 2024. So look, the final thing on that roadmap there is the second yellow star out to the right-hand side. And that is when we expect migration to the new Landonline to be completed. And that includes all the search work. That includes the XMLs, extracting XMLs that Nick talked about earlier. So that's when we hope to have you all off the legacy system around that time, early 2025. Just a couple of things I want to briefly talk about along the bottom of that timeline there that impact both our survey and title customers. Around August, we have implemented global access. So that now allows you to use the new application when you're working abroad and allows you to access it from the same countries that the legacy system does. There's two security releases impacting all of our customers as well. Obviously, you'll be familiar with the 15-minute timeout that we re-implemented in the new Landonline earlier this week. So hopefully that's working all right. We haven't had too much noise about that. The other one that's coming in sort of probably around April 2024 is multi-factor authentication. We're having to implement multi-factor authentication to align with New Zealand government standards. So look, you'll all be familiar with what that requires. Like when you use internet banking, it sometimes requires you to either answer security questions or respond to text messages. So we'll have a similar system to that, and we'll be also implementing training and whatnot when we get close to that time. So look, that brings to the end the roadmap. Hopefully that's giving you a bit of perspective on what's coming and when it's coming. I'll hand back to you now, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Lyndon. Good stuff. So I've got a couple of slides here just covering off questions that we've had, and then we'll kind of jump over into more demonstration and general question asking. So yeah, here we go. This first one is kind of, I guess, a bulletin of sorts. So people have asked, how can I share my screen with Linds when I have an issue? So say you've called up the 0800 number and you're trying to talk about a complex issue on the map and it's really hard to describe. How can you share your screen with them? So there's this tool called the remote access tool, and I've got the link up here. I'm just going to click it. That might open on a different screen, but here it comes. So you'll see that under Landonline support, software and downloads, there's under number 6, remote access tool. So this is a tool that you can install that will allow you to share your screen with the people on the 0800 number if you do need to share your screen. So that's one thing there. Kind of just encourage you to try and get that installed before you need it, so that it's not like a panicked process to get some software installed at the time you actually need help. Cool. So I can see one question in the chat already. Many people submitted questions before the webinar, so we'll start working through those ones first, and then we will come to the ones in the chat after that. So please feel free to start asking questions anytime. And I am just going to get myself organized for a second. That's the wrong one. So one of the most common questions we've been getting is around locking. And I guess there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that in Legacy Landonline, you can't release locks yourself once they've sort of been created and got stuck, and you had to phone up the 0800 number to release the locks. Whereas in the new Landonline, if you create a lock yourself, there's a really good chance you'll be able to just open the survey back up and release the lock yourself. And then the other side of it is when you work between the two applications, you kind of need to release the lock for the survey that you're in before you can open it in Legacy and vice versa. So I'm going to labour this point a little bit because I know it's been catching people out. So the first thing is, if you have a survey open and you want to close it, the best way to do that, the way that will release the lock immediately, is if you use the back button that is built into the application, like within the web page. So I mean this one here, the one next to the plan number. If you either exit the survey from here or from here, it will be locked for 20 minutes. Or if you hit the back button in the browser, it'll be locked for 20 minutes before the lock's released. But there are some workarounds if you do that. So let's just pretend, so I'll close it properly and go back to my work page, and you'll see that the lock will get released. So I'll click the back button. And I had this survey open. So you'll see there's no lock symbol there. Now, if I'll reopen it and close it the way I said not to show you what happens. So if I hit the back button in the browser rather than the back button in the application, you can see I've got a lock symbol here. Now, if I hover on the lock symbol, I can see it's locked by myself. The good news is nearly always when it's locked by yourself, you can just open it and it works. And then you can hit the back button to release the lock. So there's a really good chance you can release locks yourself if you do get yourself into that situation where you've created a lock. I guess that the other potential is that someone else actually has the survey open and it's locked. So I'll just ask Jeremy if he would be able to jump into that survey now. Do you mind giving a nod when you've managed that, Jeremy?
Yep, I'm in the data set.
Cool. So now you can see it is locked by someone else. Now because it's locked by Jeremy, I can still open it, but it'll be locked. So you see locked by Jeremy, and everything's in a read-only mode. So if I open a panel and none of the double clicks work, the 3 dots are disabled, and so on and so forth. Cool. And if Jeremy jumps back out of the application or closes the survey the proper way using the back button, and there can just be a slight delay, sort of around 5 seconds, I believe, in terms of when that lock will get released. There we go. The lock's been released now. So hopefully that's helpful. It is one of the most common kind of calls coming through the call center, and yeah, I guess it's helpful to know you can release it yourself and not have to wait on the phone to find out that you can do it by yourself. So I'm going to hand over to Jeremy now for a bit of a demo on some of the methods for accepting. So do you want to take over the screen share, Jeremy?
Yep, will do.
I've got your screen now.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here is I'm just going to start looking at this balanced road parcel data set. So I've created one already and just started basically doing my basic capture. So in this situation here, I'm stopping a bit of road. And so I'm stopping this part here, the smaller parcel, which I've captured. So I've captured all the vectors and marks that I needed to capture. What I've done is, because I'm surrendering this other parcel, so if I go into the existing parcels panel and click on that, you can see that that highlights the piece of road that or the road that is being affected by this road stopping survey. And I wanted to stop that bit there. So I've captured the road parcel itself and just captured it as extinguished. And then when I go into my new parcels, I'm obviously creating a new legalization parcel, being the piece of land that I'm stopping, and I'm creating that. So it won't let me link at the moment because I haven't captured the rest of the boundaries. So in this situation here, there's different ways of being able to capture these, what we call the accepted or the other parcel or the balance of the road parcel. So there's different ways I can do that. The first one is really basically just using the inspect and adopt tool. So I can click on that and then I'll be able to select some of the lines around those other ones. The options down on the right hand side of this little panel here are you capture multiple lines or just capture this line. So again, if I was just to capture that one line, it is going to add it. You can see it's captured it there, and it'll obviously add the mark at the other end of that line and automatically link that. Now, one of the things to remember is just when you are doing that, just make sure you've got this position here linked as well. Otherwise, it will create a separate node in that position. It will look as though it's linked, but there'll be two positions there. So the other way I can do it is I can select many. So again, you've got the tool on the right-hand side there, draw to select features. So if I was to select that, and if I was to go, I want to capture the underlying lines, for example, then if I just draw around those, it's going to automatically capture those and add them in. So again, down here, it's got 4 features selected and highlights those in the spatial view. And I can just quickly adopt those. So I hit that adopt button there. It's going to add those in as well. So it's got those underlying lines adopted. Now remember, when under the irregular lines, or under the lines it's now called, the lines panel, it does have irregular lines, but it has right lines. So you can see that it has got these, if I just select all those ones, it has got those all selected there. Now it's right lines and it shows up in this panel here because they are not associated with any vectors. So again, we'll come back to that one because it'll become a little bit more relevant in a second or two. The other way of doing it is to use the process balance parcel boundary functionality. Again, if I use the inspect and adopt tool and just select on the parcel itself, the underlying parcel, it comes up with some other options down the bottom here. So one of them being that one there, the process balance parcel boundary. And I'm just going to click on that there. It gives me the instructions there. So basically click my start and end nodes that I want to, for the lines that I want to actually capture. So again, I've already got these ones on the up here already captured. So I'm going to select that one there. And you can see it highlights pink, a little bit hard to tell because the symbol is in front of it. And I'm going to click the other one at the other end of this parcel. Now you can probably see just a dashed pink line that goes around this side here. Now I've already captured those lines, and so I don't want those ones. I'm going to go up to the right-hand side here and hit a highlight alternative sequence. So when I do that, you see the dashed line changes to go around the other direction. So those are the ones that I want to accept. So I'm just going to go capture balance parcel, and it's going to add those lines and marks as well. So again, the marks will be in your marks panel. These lines will not be in the vectors panel because they are not captured as vectors. But again, they're all in that lines and then right lines panel there as well. Keep just identified there, irregular line. So it's got one irregular line, which is this one here at the other end of the road parcel. Again, that's just the way that Landonline captures that. So it's captured that as an irregular line. So what I'm going to do now is I've got all my lines as far as I can tell captured as I want them. So I'm going to basically link this parcel first. And it's going to be my smaller parcel, which is the piece of road to be stopped. Link that parcel. So it's captured there. And I'm just going to add the balance of the road parcel. So I'm going to create a new parcel just to incorporate that one there. And I'm just going to double click into there and select road as the intent. And in the appellation, I'm just going to double click in here as well. But again, I don't need an appellation for this one. So I'm going to uncheck that box there. and I'm going to save that appellation. So obviously saving a none appellation, it gives it a parcel number, just obviously identifies with the ID there, but I'm not too worried about that. I do want to make sure it's obviously the layer is primary, and I'm going to link that the same way that I do that. Link parcel. So again, it's captured that parcel. It does see it has the number 3 there. Again, that was just to that's the same as this parcel number here, parcel ID, but that's not an issue. So that's basically how you'd capture those using the process balance parcel boundary functionality. There are pros and cons of each of those. Obviously, if the process balance parcel functionality allows you to basically deal with a lot of the parcel, especially if it's a larger parcel, a lot more quickly than the other options. But again, you may, each scenario your scenario may differ and depend. You'll use the appropriate tool. So again, that one's basically is used in a lot of different scenarios. So where if you're doing a larger subdivision, I'm wanting to accept some of the boundaries being Class D parcels or hydro parcels, or even if I'm capturing or recapturing existing easements in a scenario like that in a larger subdivision, I may be allowed to, providing the rules allow it, I may be able to use that functionality to accept those boundaries. Cool. Pass on back to you, Nick.
Awesome, thanks, Jeremy. Just a little quick reminder that there is a chat option available in the meeting. So inside your window for viewing this webinar, you should have a chat option, and feel free to choose that and add any questions that you have into the chat there, and we'll do our best to get through them. So yeah, give that a nudge if you have any queries. What else have we got here? So we've had one question about the work in legacy Landonline and when that will be pulled over to the new application. So one of the things to understand is that if the work, you were going to demo this, weren't you, Jeremy? I've picked up the right question.
That's all right.
I'll go to my one and then I'll hand back to you shortly. So one of the questions, and it kind of already covered off briefly, is I can't seem to export XML in new Landonline. Is this possible? So not yet. The functionality will eventually be developed inside the web search application that I'm sure you've found by now. But for now, to export land XML, that's still in legacy Landonline, and the work is currently scheduled to be completed around April 2024. To give you a rough indication of when it is expected in the new app. Yeah, are you all right for that demo on the stuff appearing between the two apps, Jeremy?
Yep, I should be able to do that now. Just making sure I'm capturing the right window. Okay, so in this situation here, I've just split my screen here between the two apps. So again, on the left-hand side, I've got Legacy open. On the right-hand side, I've got New Landonline open. So you can see under my work there, I've got all the data sets that I have in my workspace there. And you can see those are listed here as well. So again, all these other ones, like the ones at the start there, they're the ones that I would have been created earlier on, and some of those would have been created in Legacy, basically Legacy Landonline, and that data is brought through basically between the two apps. So whatever data has been captured in Legacy is also going to be captured in New Landonline. So yeah, at the moment, people who are working between the two of them up until the 6th of November, they will see that. So information that I will have captured. So for example, this one that I was just in before, I could go back into Legacy there. It's the same data set. If I open that in Legacy and bring it across to the correct window, again, if I was to go into capture data set, again, opening up the wrong window. But if I do that and open up the spatial view there, it's going to have all that same data. So all the vectors, all the marks are all being captured in there. In New Landonline, you can see they've been brought through into Legacy as well. So it is still in the same information. So again, anything that I've been captured previously into Legacy is also going to be available in New Landonline.
Awesome, thanks, Jeremy. So yeah, it's kind of like a key way this has been implemented to make it easy to make the shift over is that if you started something in Legacy, you can finish it in the new app, or if you start something in the new app and you have an issue, you can jump back to Legacy. That's up until the 6th of November, so we're getting pretty close to that cut over now. But if you still haven't used the new app, a few people have told us they're waiting till they have to use it, but if you still haven't used it, sort of would encourage you to jump in there now, have a look at your surveys, try and do something, at least that way if you get stuck, you can still fall back to Legacy for the next I don't know, what is it, 9 days or so. Cool, where is my next question? Spatial error check. So there's a question of can you please cover the spatial error check functionality as it appears to be missing from the new Landonline? So we did some engagement with users back in September 22 and September 2022, a while back now, and that indicated that's not widely used and was actually really poorly understood what it actually did. So at this stage decided not to replace that functionality. And the feedback we received is that the tools in your survey software are significantly better for that. So maybe bad news there, but that's where that one's at. There's a couple of questions here about being able to reorder the parcel list and also to reorder the vector list. So I guess there's a couple of parts to this. So the first thing is if you have, I can share my screen and show the app for a second. In terms of ordering within the new app, you can order kind of on a custom way by any of the column headings, alphabetically and so on and so forth. Same within the vectors app. So say you wanted to sort by distance for some reason or whatever it is, you can do that, or mark name or CSD ref. My assumption is what you really wanted in the background of this is for it to control the list within the record of survey and or title plan, depending on the problem. So we haven't got the ability to do that. Yeah, it's actually a kind of more of a plan gen thing than it is really the capture thing. But yeah, so I guess really it can't be done in Legacy, and at the moment the focus is on trying to get the features that are there across wherever possible. So that's where that one is up to. What else have we got here? Oh, this is a pretty good question. So why have Lynn set this up so surveyors are having to work between two systems? Sorry, dog barking in the background. People hear me over the dog barking? Okay, cool. So the main reason behind this is actually to reduce the risk of kind of making the swap between the two systems. I was closely involved with the discussions back when this decision was made, and I remember agreeing that it was the right choice, acknowledging that it is a little bit fiddly to jump between the systems when you're first getting used to it. But really it's about reducing the risk of implementing the new system and reducing the risk of kind of major issues. So I appreciate that that could make it slightly tricky in some cases, but I think on the whole it's still the kind of best on the overall balance of it all. What else have we got next? In new Landonline notices, the plans do not get posted like old messages. Where can we get and see these? Lyndon, are you able to take that one?
I can. I'll just make sure I've got the so the question. Sorry, we're doing the where to get my messages. Is that right? I was just answering another question out the side. I'll just share my screens if I might. Actually, can you within the app just show everyone how to access notices, and then I'll show them how the My Messages component will be added to that in a minute.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cool. So in terms of how the app hangs together, one of the key kind of features is this app switcher up the top here. So this grid of 9 in the top left-hand corner. So if you click on this, you get the ability to swap between the different applications, for want of a better word. So the one we're going to look at today is notices, because messages is now being merged with notices. So if you click here, that takes you over to notices. And then Lyndon's going to demonstrate the next bit.
Perfect. Yeah, so our plan is to bring the plan compilation messages that have copies of your record of survey and title plan, where you get all your draft copies that you send off to clients, etc., into this notices dashboard. So I'm just going to share a screen at the moment now, and it will have what we call it a user mock-up of what it's going to look like moving forward. And you'll see you've got the My Notices. There'll be a My Notices tab, a Firm Notices tab, and there'll be a My Messages tab. So looks like we're going to also bring the approval notices in there, along with all the plan compilation messages as well. So that's just a mock-up of how you'll access that information. So there'll no longer be a separate My Messages location like we have in Legacy. It will all be within the Notices application under a Messages tab. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Lyndon, that they can still use My Messages in Legacy up until that point in time?
100%. That's fully functioning, and you'll have to continue to go there to get those plan compilation messages until we build this. We're looking to build this in the first 3 months of the year, next year. So with a bit of luck, it'll be available Q2 2024.
Cool, thanks, Lyndon. Okay, here's a question. Can we get the pre-val report in Word instead of a text file? So at this stage, it's only going to be a text file option via the download. I guess if you wanted it over into Microsoft Word, you could do a copy and paste of the resulting document into Word, but you probably already knew that. Yeah, thanks for that one.
Do you want me to quickly demonstrate something there, Nick? So
yeah,
there's because in I'm just sharing this now and just going into my pre-validation report. So I'm going into the pre-validation tab there, panel there. So each of these, you can obviously at the go down to there and download pre-validation report. It does download as a text file. You're right. You can obviously open up that text file and copy and paste that into your Word document. Or obviously, if you can copy each of these, so it's got a copy to clipboard there, so that'll copy each of those. It is for each warning section, so there's separate ones there. You can basically go copy that, copy to clipboard. You can see it's copied it there, and then if I was to open up Word, and I can just click in there and go Control V, and it pastes it straight into there. So the format's still pretty good. That's one way to do it.
Awesome.
Again, the other way was just it opens up as a text file if I did the whole thing, and yeah, you just have that same information there, and it gives you all the report, and you just have to copy it from there and paste it into Word as well. That's sort of the workarounds at the moment.
Thanks, Jeremy. Lyndon, were you volunteering to take this TA certification question? I guess there's two parts to it, isn't there? Because we've got the the requesting of TA certifications, and then there's the granting of TA certifications by the TA. So are you okay to pick that one up?
And I'm presuming this is in relation to the granting of the TA certifications. Is if I picked that up correctly? I think it is. Hazem, I'm presuming you work for one of the councils. Have I read that right? Yeah, and you grant TA certifications. So what the roadmap doesn't show that I presented earlier is it doesn't show the work that we're doing on TA certifications. We've just got an approved business case. We've just started work on replacing the TA certification functionality that you use. We're anticipating it's sort of going to take around 9 months to complete that work. We've got a working group we've set up. We've got representatives from Auckland, Hutt City, Dunedin, New Plymouth, Selwyn, Porirua, Western Bay of Plenty, and we'll be sharing and working with them, developing that functionality. And we've undertaken to make sure we engage with all the TAs next year to keep you up to date with what we're doing. So it will work in a very similar fashion to what we've got now with the as it does for surveyors. As we'll develop a My Work page, we'll make that available to you, and everything will be fully compatible and backwards and forwards compatible. So all your work will be available in both systems for a period of time until we turn off the old system. So a little bit vague there, but the plan is it will be a seamless process for you to transition you to the new application. But there's no functionality to give you at this stage.
Cool. And just to, I guess, link that back in for the surveyors of that was, so I guess TA certifications has already been built in the new app. That's one of the options you can access at the kind of end of that workflow ribbon on the left-hand side. I should share my screen instead of trying to use words. Survey. And at the moment, if you requested a TA certification from inside this tool, it would send to the council and they would actually be kind of reviewing and granting that certification under the legacy system. So that bit Lyndon was just talking about there was about the TA getting their replacement bit. So once the surveyor sends it, they kind of have a new application to approve or grant the certifications. Okay, we've got a question here about will there be a Travis sheet application, or will this be outsourced to third-party software? So one of the key things that came out of my early engagement is that surveyors really want a place where they can complete all of their subdivision calculations in one place. And it was really clear that people were asking for like roading, stormwater, utilities, boundaries, all in the same place. And so kind of we looked at some high level stuff really early on in that process and kind of acknowledged Lens was never going to go down that road of supporting all that stuff. So the kind of longer term approach that was discussed, and things can unfold differently, but the longer term approach that was discussed was to actually move towards enabling more and more to happen in your survey software and to get a more and more complete data set from your survey software into Lens. But that's kind of down the line stuff. But yeah, I guess what that means is short term, the focus isn't on trying to make the Landonline work more like a Travis spreadsheet calculator and more about enabling you to have a place where you can do your whole subdivision calcs and get it into Lens in one set. That's been really kind of clear from the early days. Okay, I've just seen a question pop up in the chat. Will there still be an option to set users and signing surveyor in legacy? We changed the signing survey. Okay, sorry, I'll read that out loud. So will there still be an option to set users and signing survey and legacy? We have noticed that in the new app, if we change the signing surveyor, when we generate the survey and title plan sheets, that the signing surveyor listed on the record of title, presumably doesn't always update, but it will always update correctly if we make the change in legacy. So so a few things here. So no, you won't be able to make that change under legacy. There was a bug a while back where this was happening. We believe we fixed that. So it'd be interesting to know if you've experienced this, say, within the last, off the top of my head, I'd guess about 6 weeks. And if you have, really keen to hear about it. And yeah, if you haven't, then that's great news and it's hopefully been fixed. Got a question here. Can the plan compilation notices be sent to the whole firm rather than just to the signing surveyor? I guess that's an improvement question. So at the moment, we've been trying to work towards aligning things with how legacy works. It kind of hasn't been a real focus for changing the way the notices get sent. It certainly hasn't come up as like a common theme of feedback, but happy to kind of take that to the prioritization process and see where it lands. Does that sound? Any other comments there, Lyndon or Jeremy?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Nick. Ultimately, it would be a configuration setting we'd have to build because some people would want that and others wouldn't. So if we went down that path, we'd have to make it configurable. But absolutely, we'll put it in the mix.
Oh, have I missed any of these questions along the way? Oh, yeah, there was one earlier around sorry, it was one of the ones that came through in the from the pre-workshop questions. So one of the questions was, can I use, why can't I just hit enter to jump to the next cell? So I think it's worth explaining the difference between enter and tab and how they work in the application. So if I've clicked in the cell and I hit enter, it will save and close any of my edits. So say I change that from, I don't know, iron rod to iron tube. If I hit enter, it'll save. Whereas tab, let's say I want to change it back to, I don't know, iron spike, I can tab to the next ones and it keeps jumping through for me. So I guess that's worth pointing out. So I know Legacy does it. If you hit enter, it does save and jump to the next cell, and tab does the same thing. A little bit of a difference with the new app, kind of maybe a little bit more like how Excel works, where it's like, or many web applications where you hit tab, it's like a jump to the next cell thing, whereas enter is just kind of enter on what you've entered. So have it. Did you have any more to add there, Jeremy?
No, that's right. As you said, just enter obviously opens up the field, and then tab, for editing, and then tab moves across. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I believe we are out of questions. We could give it a few more minutes to let people have time to type in questions if you have any kind of things you really want to know how to do. And if we haven't had any questions by about 12:43 or so, then we'll start wrapping things up. Right, good prompting question from Tony Nickel. So, and this has come a bit as like, how do I get from an error in pre-val through to actually finding the issue? How am I going to manufacture an issue that will show up in pre-val? I'll edit, hopefully this. So it can have an underlying value. Good. Let's hope that one has an underlying value on Landonline that will hopefully give me a pre-val error. So I'll run pre-val. Let's see if we can get to it. Warnings. I mean, I can demo it for mark names. So yes, the first one is, it's got iron rod ISO 303485, and I've called it iron spike. That was the one I was just fiddling with. So to find that in the marks panel, the search functionality is quite powerful. So I mean, in this case, it happens to be the first one listed there, but if it was way down the list, I could just type in 101 and it will filter the list to any rows that have that value in it. And that same concept is also super helpful for vectors. Let's see, do one of these relate to lines? Not a really good example, but if I wanted to find the vector that particular error was talking about, is telling me it's the line between 168 and 167. So I literally just type in 168 and I can see quite quickly here's the vector that it's talking about.
Another way of doing it, which someone mentioned the other day, is because it's in the application's in a browser, you can also find things using Control F. So that's even in your vectors panel and that sort of stuff. So you could actually use Control F to find that 0.101. So again, highlights it through that. Also, that also works on your My Work page as well. So if you were to go back to the My Work page, and if you're looking for one of your data sets, which you may know the name of or something like that, you can use Control F to go and find that as well. So that's obviously one way of quickly identifying or finding a previous survey that you've worked on.
Thanks, Jeremy. Has the way you select multiple features in marks and vectors changed recently? Seems you have to select a tick box now. that is correct. So to pick multiple things, you click in the tick box and say you wanted to select all the way down to this one here. I'd hold Shift on my keyboard before clicking here, and that will pick them all on the way. You can just click many of these without holding Control or anything, and that will also work. If you wanted to pick everything, you can click the top one here, and also to deselect. And the other thing here is this counter. It's quite helpful, particularly if you're about to do a multi-edit. So say you had this row selected and you came up here and you kind of trying to remember the scenario where this can trap you. If you hold, no. Yeah, it's just in case you accidentally end up with multiple things selected, you can check before making an edit how many things you're going to be editing. So that little number there is super helpful.
Yeah, for example, if you'd selected one at the top of the list and one at the bottom of the list, or if you'd forgotten you'd selected the one at the top and you'd scrolled all the way down, you can still see that you've got one selected. And then if you obviously in the view there, you're only looking as though you've got 5 there selected, but the number at the bottom tells you you've got 6. So it's just a good warning.
Cool. Question here, can you show how to access Landonline support? So the way you find support in the app is you look for the question mark button, and that will take you to support that relates to what you've clicked on. So if I click on the support here, I'll get a different set of support till I click here. So this one will be all about marks. So if I click on that, it'll open in a new browser, a new tab, and it'll take me to help about marks. And you can see it's jumped to the marks section. I can either scroll through here and look through the issue, look through what I'm looking for, or jump to videos about marks, so on and so forth. So that's always contextual, whereas if I chose it from here, it'll be more about the entire app, because it's there we go, getting started with the spatial view. So that's telling you how that works. And yeah, hopefully that is clear. We've got a question here. Does the vector ID in capture correspond to which row it shows up in the record as survey? I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I think the answer is no. Sorry, are you able to confirm that, Jeremy? Do you know?
No, I don't know either. That is what is in Legacy is the sequence ID. So that's obviously a way to find them easily. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so my recollection, it's not 100% solid, is that this is the sequence ID. So it does control the sequence in here. So you can insert vector above and it's the default ordering. So you can have them ordered here, but I do vaguely recall that doesn't flow into the mark and vector report that comes out of PlanGen. Not 100% sure on that, sorry. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for that. How can I generate an error? One of the big, one of the things that's changed that is quite helpful is there are links to the really common errors that pop up as errors from the application. So I'm going to try to generate one of them now by making some pretty munted data. And then trying to force it to regenerate. But, oh no. Any thoughts on how I can maybe I can change one of these to make one of my non-boundary vectors primary and then go to parcel linking, which should force an error, shouldn't it? Cool. So inside these messages that pop up, the vast majority of them now have a more information option. So if you choose that, it'll take you to this page that scrolls through the errors and the known solutions to those problems. So you see it's got message 1252009, and possible cause 1 is that the following lines do not form a closed ring. possible clause 2 is this, and so on and so forth. So it can be a really helpful way for you just, oh, I know that error, I know the fix for it, I just can't quite remember what I'm doing. That those more information ones kind of give you a lot more detail about how you could possibly diagnose the error yourself. Cool. Height limited easements. Are you all right to take that one, Jeremy? You haven't done it in ages.
Yep, I can have a look at that. So again, I'm just going to share my screen. Just making sure to select the right one. So again, I've got a data set here, which is just a small 3-lot subdivision, but I've got a parcel here, so a new parcel, which I've captured as height limited. So again, to do that, it's just obviously selecting that checkbox, height limited. So again, if I don't have that and save the appellation, it's just going to show it normally as area A in here. And if I hit the height limited checkbox, it's going to show it as height limited area A. So the question was about the schedule memorandum. So again, if I click in here, I'm creating a right of way in the show in one. If I want to set height limited A, I'll just select that. And that obviously selects the burdened land as well. Is that the question that was asked? Obviously select the benefited land there.
I think that's right. I wonder if the question's implying that if we change have you now changed it to say not height limited, does it flow through to the easement schedule? Is that? You'd probably have to close it and reopen it if it was going to update.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I update automatically. It does when you go back out and come back in again. It updates automatically.
Yeah, so hopefully that's some helpful information there. But yeah, I guess the key thing is making sure you record it as height limited in the appellation place, and then it will come through correctly into the schedule. But there is a little glitch where you have to close and reopen the panel if you do change it after the schedule's already created.
That's right.
Cool. Any undo functionality, say when selecting multiple marks to change their state, you have to remember to unselect all to change a single purpose. So no, there is no undo functionality. I'm sure it would be a good feature, but
yeah,
it's not there at the moment.
Yeah, that's why that small number, when you select obviously your marks or vectors or whatever, multi-select, and it shows you the number that you've got selected. So it's just to make sure. I mean, I always make sure that I unselect everything before I go and change anything. So I unselect everything, make sure I've got nothing selected, and then select the ones that I'm wanting to change. So it's just a good habit to get into. But no, sorry,
Yeah,
no undo button.
Yeah, and in terms of unselecting everything, it's a good reminder. So this was the scenario I was trying to talk about before, where this is really helpful. So you kind of end up, say you've selected a bunch of things up here, and then you've also selected this row. It's really good to check this number before you go and say,
you'll just need to,
change.
sorry, Nick, you just need to share again.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I stole it off you before, sorry.
That's all good. It was helpful. So yeah, here's that example I was talking about before. So say you have chosen a bunch of things up here, and then you scroll down here and you choose this row, and then you go, oh, that's not meant to be boundary, that's meant to be non-boundary. It's really good to check that number there before you make the change. So you can go, should I have 17 things selected before I do it? The other thing that is quite helpful to note is that if you right click in the map, there's a deselect features, which will clear all your selection. And equally, if you hit escape anywhere while you're working in the app, that will clear all your selected features too. So both of those are quite handy ways of clearing your selections before you go and do any edits. Will the check vector option in Legacy be available? I don't know what the check vector option is. Do you, Jeremy?
No, Lyndon's got his hand up. Go for it, Lyndon.
It's all tied up to the spatial error checking, and I think there's two ways you can I've never used these, I'll be honest, in when I was working as a surveyor, but I posted it's the same response that we posted earlier on. We sought feedback from our customers. They don't feel it's widely utilised, and we've sort of decided not to rebuild that at the moment, believing that the error checking in your own survey software is more adequate. So we'll keep a close eye on that. We have had a few requests in the last week for this, but at this stage the plan isn't to rebuild it.
Thanks, Lyndon. Next question in the chat here is about adding survey plan references, and should have actually covered this off because it is a reasonably frequent question we get. So it's a little bit hidden, but all you had to do is right click where you want it to go and then choose add survey reference here. So if I right click here and go add survey reference, it will add it there, and you can add up to 20, I believe. And to get rid of, you can't move them, you can only delete them and add a new one. So say I'd put that in the wrong place. To get rid of it, I right click on it and go delete, and then say I wanted it actually to be here, right click and go add survey reference. I am actually in production, so we'll just go and delete those so no one stumbles across them. Cool. Oh, I see. Sorry, I'm just reading through the thread of questions. In web search, how do I show adjoining plan references? I don't know what is meant by adjoining plan references here. Do you?
I think, Nick, it's referring to, at the moment, you can only search if you know the survey plan or the title reference you know. You don't actually have the ability to turn on all the survey plan references and select them in web search. So that functionality is getting built as we speak. So it's coming real soon, Vince. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I've got that right.
Nice. Okay, question here. Is it possible to renumber the new parcels so it will come in the order that you want them to show on the plan? Unfortunately, no. The only way to get them to reorder so that you'd want that they show in the order you want on the plan is to delete them and recreate them in the order that you want them, or to re-import your survey and do those sorts of things. So often fairly catastrophic, but that's the only way you can achieve that at the moment. Confirmation that that was the right interpretation of adjoining plan references. Thanks, Lyndon. Awesome. Well, we're running pretty close to the end of the hour here, so yeah, just I guess to begin wrapping things up, unless no additional questions pop up in the next minute. Big thanks to Jeremy and Lyndon for presenting today, and really big thanks to everyone who came along, listened, and asked questions, because would have been pretty awkward if we hadn't had any. In terms of what's next, so Legacy Capture is getting retired on the 6th of November. So remember that those buttons will kind of be grayed out from that day. Anything that you've done in Legacy will already be in the new app. So jump in there now and start using it. Try to at least log in and have a look around before the day to make sure you know what you're doing, so you don't get yourself into a tight spot. And yeah, in 2024, those features are coming. So sign and submit, plan generation, spatial search. Yeah, that's it from us. Thanks, everyone, and hope you found the session valuable.
Thank you, Nick.